What happened with this show? What did Marvel do? If you think back to 2021 and all the Marvel Disney Plus shows, their attitude to releasing them was so much different. Ironheart is a good show that they just dumped. They just left it out to dry. And it's such a shame because here we have a show with so much care and attention put into it that tells a really compelling story. And I think so many people would enjoy, but there are people out there that don't even know the show exists because they didn't market it. They dropped it just over 2 weeks. And for all intents and purposes, it might as well not exist.
Yeah, it's a very weird phase in the MCU right now. Dropped out of nowhere. Nobody seemed to care about this show. And then it got controversy for no reason. It got really bad ratings before the show aired, especially the racism. And then they're saying, oh, it's a rip-off of Iron Man. Iron Man, no, no, no. Oh, if you watch the show and know something about the character, it's not ripping off Iron Man. It's just all of those things that Marvel just dumped in the middle of nowhere between June and July. I mean, in the very action-packed superhero month, this didn't get the most attention.
Yeah, I understand that Marvel, they want to market Fantastic Four. That's the big release and all, but it feels so disingenuous to so unceremoniously dump this. There hasn't been any statements made about the backlash. And, it is just the same old story. It's the same group of fans who are upset that the characters aren't just white men and they feel undermined by the existence of
Yeah.
this show. And it's like, oh no, there's a drag queen in it. It's actually the most pathetic thing I've ever seen. If you watch the show, there's nothing to be offended about. It's just another Marvel show. But having said that, I am very excited to talk about it. Cue the music.
This is the Out of Time Film Podcast, where your hosts Tom and John discuss everything from blockbuster films to TV and games like there's no tomorrow.
I kind of want to say that Marvel's on a hot streak right now. We're recording this before Fantastic Four comes out, so who knows what happens
What will
there.
happen?
But Thunderbolts was great. Daredevil was fine. It wasn't awful. It was fine. I loved Agatha. And there hasn't been a proper stinker since what? Secret Invasion, maybe?
Secret Invasion.
Yeah, sorry, I had to mention it.
And it'll be AI Nick Fury just comes
Oh
out to the
God,
screen.
yeah. So
Yeah.
I kind of feel like Marvel are running with a bit of consistency right now. Do you think this show continues that?
Yeah, I think there is nothing hugely bad about it. I think it just had a good sense of emotional storytelling with the characters. However, I think the show is very short. We don't really get a lot of time to go into the quiet moments with the characters. We only get to explore her in Wakanda Forever as a side character. So in this show, Riri Williams get kicked out of MIT and she needs money to build an AI and then continue with her inventions. However, when building up her AI, the AI becomes her dead best friend. That was a great plot twist to bring into the story to build the emotional weight about the use of AI, but also the use of dead people in AI. That was a really good conflict to use, but it just gets stuck in a whirlwind of all the things that are happening with the main villain of the story, which is the Hood. I say it's a good show. It's just good.
Yeah, I agree. There's definitely a lot of elements that push it beyond. I at least feel that so many MCU projects sit in this realm of mediocrity, and there are things that manage to push it past. There's this idea of tech and magic. Something that a lot of superhero films and shows do is the very simple guy can shoot lasers and has to fight an evil guy who can shoot lasers. It's Ant-Man fights an evil Ant-Man. The Flash fights an evil speedster. Everyone just fights them but evil. I like how in this show it's tech fights magic. That's a really cool idea, and they do some cool stuff with that. There's a lot of interesting concepts in this that question ethics, kind of surrounding AI, as you're saying. It's something that I would have loved for them to go into more, but as you say, 6 episodes. I think the core of this show is fantastic. There's a lot of Riri and Natalie, who is her dead best friend, who has now become this AI. There's this really cool idea of life and what makes a person. Is it the fact that they're a living, breathing organism? Are we just a collection of memories? That's all the AI needs to take on the physical traits and personality of Natalie. And I really like this idea of bringing back someone from the dead and that being a stage of grief. In the comics, Ironheart's AI is Tony Stark, a hologram of Tony Stark. And obviously, while that's very cool in its own right, I appreciate that they didn't do that. Obviously, they were never going to do that because can you imagine how much it would have cost to get Robert Downey Jr.
Oh boy,
as
that
Tony
would
Stark? I like that instead it's a more personal thing. And if it was Tony Stark, it would create this massive disconnect between the rich and the poor. That's something the show is trying to tackle. And so I think it would be very ironic for Riri to be like, yeah, billionaires are so out of touch. Anyway, here's my mentor, the billionaire. I think that would have muddied the waters. So instead we get this study of grief and this study of life through the concept of an AI organism, which I think is good stuff.
It's pretty relevant today with the use of AI. It's very expensive and it's costing damages in the real life world right now.
This show was shot in 2022, around the time that Wakanda Forever came out. Yeah, this has been in the can for ages. I wonder if they'd made the show a little bit later. If they'd actually shot it, would they have actually made that part of it? Because it doesn't seem to really care about the actual stuff of AI that's happening. So I wonder whether if they'd have made it recently rather than back in 2022, would it have been more head-on in the way that it tackled those issues?
Interesting. If it was released earlier, I think it would have paved the way for questioning the use of AI. It's just the ethical use of that. And the show sparked that really good discussion of how do you tackle if someone comes back in the form of AI. That'd be weird. It just sucks that the show doesn't go further into this, but I think there's some great bits for this show. Eric Andre, wasn't this?
Yeah. He was.
As Stuart.
Bizarre. Yeah.
I was getting flashbacks to his show because he's crazy.
It's crazy they have him for just one episode, essentially.
Yeah, right? I thought he was going to be a bit more into this. Unfortunately, he gets killed off screen. No,
Eric Andre.
What else? Oh, the guy from Oppenheimer. I forgot his name, but he's Han from Solo.
Yeah, sorry. Did you just say
Shush.
Alden Ehrenreich as the guy from Oppenheimer, not Han fucking Solo?
Okay,
my
my
God.
brain went a different direction because his performance.
Mike, that's Han Solo.
That's
my
Han
friend.
Solo. Okay,
I love Solo. Yeah, no, he was great. Like, he was such a fun guy. I enjoyed seeing Shea Coulée. I'm a Drag Race fan. Seeing them as Slug, is their name? I think.
Yeah.
You know, the thing about this show, it's about half the length it should be. It should be 12 episodes, really.
Triple that. It should be 24.
Yes! I would have loved that. I mean, the episodes are a good length. They go between 40 to 50 minutes, and that's pretty solid. But if this was double the length, it would have been so much better. You would get time to sink your teeth into so many of these things. And one of the things that suffers is the side characters. They hurt the show. We don't get to know them. Riri and her family, amazing. Parker, the Hood, the villain, solid. But then you take the team, for example, the team that Riri joins, they have plenty of personality. I even remember some of the names, and the actors do a great job, but their characters, they're about as deep as a plank of wood. I'm not talking a thick plank of wood, I'm talking like a thin, like floorboards. They're about as deep as that. And what we needed was more time to get to know them, so that when you experience betrayal and pain and confusion, it's shared with the audience as well. There's a bit kind of episode 3 where everything goes wrong for the team. I don't really care. I don't really care that people are suffocating because I don't really know them. If that had been episode 6 rather than episode 3 and we were doing 12 episodes, that could have been really interesting.
Yeah, I think we could have delved deeper into those characters. I feel like they had this source. It's so annoying that we don't really get to know them. And I think that would have made the story really interesting. Why they're part of the team, what their motivations, what their conflicts, what their goals are. It just goes back to Riri and Parker in this show. It just goes back and forth. Whereas we could have just had more episodes to actually delve deeper into those themes as well. Like, it goes into really good ideas about, we got a drag queen, which is really cool. We don't really get to explore underrepresented people. It's a really cool concept to, like, they're chosen and they want to be seen in the world. And that's how I relate to as well, like deaf people aren't represented as much. And there's the whole thing with the Hood, his goals and his desires. He wants to be rich, bringing in that unrepresented people. Was that conflict of being seen, but also being invisible. They're this team, they can do whatever they want. There is that concept.
I'm with you. We need to explore these communities more. It's great that they are in there. There's one moment when Riri's mum is like, you got a boy back there or a girl? And it's like, okay, great. You've said a thing. Queerness is suggested. Fine.
Yeah.
But I feel still, for such a big franchise, let's go deeper into these things. The haters are already hating on it.
For no reason, because they don't understand.
Exactly.
then.
And they're going to do it anyway, so why not go the full length? There is this kind of Robin Hood-esque angle that I think is really compelling. The team does missions where the rich are making things that are harming people in society, but we don't massively see those hardships of the lower classes. We don't see how they suffer under the thumb of the wealthy. It does fall into this fact that we don't see much of the side characters, but the world of the show, it isn't quite textured enough to emphasize these points. But nonetheless, I do love that idea. There's so many cool things about Tony Stark was able to build Iron Man, not because he had a box of scraps, but because he had all this technology and all these resources. You know, look at what he made in the cave. It was shit. It got him out of a door, had a flamethrower, and then fell apart at the first moment. Riri Williams faces struggles to make things without MIT, without the money, and I really enjoy that we get to see this corner of the world. In 6 episodes, you don't really get to see the humanity that I think we needed.
Yeah, especially this is in Chicago as well. That's a different location to further explore in this world. We went back to Ezekiel. There's the weird trend of when characters are connected to something and then out of nowhere they're just like, oh yeah, I'm the son of Obadiah.
Whoa.
Whoa.
Yeah. Which is weird because that doesn't really come as a surprise to anybody who knows about the production of the show, because when it was announced, it was like, and Alden Ehrenreich will be playing Obadiah Stane's son. And it's like, okay, yeah, there we go.
Okay, we kind of know about this, but there was a weird trend when they're trying to connect back to the past, and it's like, the fans must know it. They know everything. They gotta make theories.
Yeah, it's mad. You almost expect the son of Whiplash to appear. You know what? Where's Justin Hammer? Bring him back.
Oh yeah, we gotta bring him back.
Those things can work and they can't work. I think Ezekiel Stane does work. I think he's a quite strong part of the show. I love the idea that nobody actually knows what happened to Obadiah. Tony didn't tell everyone yet Obadiah became Ironmonger. The official story is he died in a plane crash, but Ezekiel knows what happened to his dad and he feels shame of it. He doesn't want to harm people like that, but he almost kind of becomes villainous himself because he's twisted by, you know, society's treatment of him. And that in itself, I'm going to go into spoilers here, when he gets essentially framed for what they did at the greenhouse because they used his tech, he gets imprisoned for that. And we get to really look at the questionable morals of someone like Riri. The whole time, she doesn't really herself know why she's doing anything that she's doing. Like, everyone keeps saying, why did you build the suit? Because I can. Is she a hero, or is she just somebody who wants money? She joins this group not because of the Robin Hood element. In fact, all of them, they're not really doing it for the Robin Hood give to the poor aspect. They're just taking the money for themselves. And this idea of Riri kind of does just let Ezekiel rot in prison, even though absolutely she's the one at fault. She dragged him into this. And there's this great bit where Riri kills someone, like she leaves someone to die and very actively does it. And that's not just like people in the MCU heroes, they kill quite a bit and it doesn't really matter. But here, she does that, and that weighs on her, and she feels guilt and she feels remorse, not just because, oh, it puts her name at stake, but because actually she killed somebody who really had every right to be suspicious of her, and her disregard. That's just really interesting stuff to deal with. This isn't like any hero that I've ever seen before in the MCU. Obviously, she's young, she's got much to learn, but she's somebody who is dealing with so many things, grief being one, PTSD being another. She has a lot of panic attacks in this show. And all of that comes together. Just like really great character work.
Great core concepts as well. That's something to explore as a hero. The moral dilemma, killing someone to protect herself. I think that was a good bit towards her actually telling the truth to her friend Xavier. They have a great chemistry with Star Trek quotes. That was nice. So again, I think the show could have expanded so many things. It just feels like there's so many things that are just getting rushed.
There's a few things in this show that I really thought we were beyond. I thought that the MCU had learned that 6 episodes just wasn't enough. And we had got, was Agatha 8 or was it 6?
I feel like Agatha was 8.
Agatha was 9. So
9.
Agatha was 9. Daredevil was 9. Echo was 5, but that was a smaller scale. It was a Marvel Spotlight.
Yeah.
She-Hulk was 9. I feel like we were moving beyond this 6-episode thing because it almost never works. And then they just do it again. And I think the reason for that is because this has been trapped in production hell for ages. And maybe this is why they dropped it. Maybe they didn't have any faith. And that's why they released it so quickly and stealthily. But I think there's a lot in this show that's really great. And it confuses me.
Yeah, that is very confusing to think about because as we got Wakanda Forever, there will be a great follow-up We get to see something street level, but then again, it's confusing to think about because it's years later. That was last saga, wasn't it? Wakanda Forever.
Yeah, Wakanda Forever, late 2022. I think it was the final movie of Phase 4, and this is the
Yeah.
final thing of Phase 5. I don't really know.
Yes.
Do the MCU phases even mean anything anymore?
No, I'm thinking it's a scam because there's so many things that we get to see, and it's like this is the end of the phase. Something. It's like, what happened? Honestly, this should have been in the last phase. It should have been released sooner to know about the character because obviously many people they've forgotten about the character from Wakanda Forever. It's frustrating. I just don't know why they just released it out of nowhere. Was it something they were struggling with in production or something to do with the big blockbuster films that we're going to get, like Doomsday? Marvel's been obviously focusing on those movies.
Yeah, I think that the thing with Marvel now making so many things is that once the narrative begins to build, and I think that the last three films, the narrative is building. Captain America questions rebuilding the Avengers, and then Thunderbolts introduces the second team of Avengers, and then Fantastic Four presumably will fold into that somehow. The narrative is building, but then you have like Daredevil, which doesn't have anything to do with any of that. Ironheart, which also doesn't have anything to do with that, and that doesn't diminish the stories themselves, but I feel like the MCU demands more direction in where it's going. You know,
Yeah.
this is coming straight off Wakanda Forever, so this should be releasing in the months after Wakanda Forever. I think the first show that we got after Wakanda Forever was Secret Invasion. That's nothing like. Surely
Yeah, it's nothing to do
Ironheart
with it.
should be there, and
Yeah.
then you release Secret Invasion alongside the Marvels instead of Loki. It all feels crazily done, especially when they're
Yeah.
shooting a lot of these things recently or far past, and there's reshoots and different things. You know,
Yeah.
it's becoming too much.
It feels like there's a bunch of teams that film, and maybe they're sending so many mixed messages, and then that's why they get on hold because there's so many things that they cannot control with so many things that are going on. It's very concerning, but again, we do have a good output of good shows. It's going to be weird when we're going to be focusing on Doomsday because that's going to be the only big thing that's in everybody's minds.
It seems like the streaming model isn't doing them any favors as well. Daredevil was the least watched MCU show, which is mad because there was a lot of conversation about it online, but clearly the viewers didn't translate. And so there's definitely a lot to be said about the practices that they're
Yeah.
doing in terms of movies and with shows.
Should we talk about the last thing that happened in this show?
Yeah, they.
Um,
I mean.
it does feel like on the nose that this been leading up to since WandaVision, everybody, that people have been going absolutely crazy with this
Oh,
theory
God.
of like,
I mean, I'm.
Mephisto's got to be here somewhere.
The moment that he said, I'm Mephisto, it was like, oh, for God's sake. It felt like they just put it in there to make fans happy. And I swear, I never want to hear Mephisto's name ever again. It's so tiring. After all this, they finally did it. They cast Sacha Baron Cohen. We get a little bit of Mephisto. He's fine. I don't care about Mephisto, guys. I'm
Yeah,
so
same.
sorry. The thing that I was worried about for WandaVision is that if you introduce Mephisto, the idea of Wanda being villainous in her actions, take that away. They did that anyway with Agatha, so big whoop. Either way, I can't win. But my issue with this Mephisto is that they did the fucking MCU episode 6 villain reveal trope bullshit. I thought we were past that. This show does nothing to make me interested in Mephisto, and there is this idea of greed and desire, and it's stabbing you in the back. Monkey's paw, classic deal with the devil, but it feels a little bit shallow. It feels done because people wanted him in WandaVision and not because this story and these themes needed Mephisto. And we've had Marvel shows now for a while without this kind of thing, without the Kingpin reveal or the Power Broker reveal or the He Who Remains reveal or the Agatha reveal. We've been doing well without it, but we're doing it again. And again, you can tell the show was filmed in 2022 before they had decided, okay, let's not do the big reveal. I loved it in She-Hulk when she kind of looks at the camera and is like, what the heck? Where did this villain come from? This is actually all, this is shit. And she kind of redoes it because so many MCU shows were doing that. Moon Knight even ends with a big reveal. It's so tiring.
Yeah, they just don't really add anything. It's something for the, go to the cinema and just get a reaction out of people.
Yeah.
Like, that's what it is. It's just like,
Yeah.
woo! Oh yeah.
John,
And
it's hype moments and aura is what it is.
hype moments and aura. Yes, it would have been Ironheart, and then Martin Scorsese would have stand up and clapped and like, yes,
Yeah.
this is absolute cinema.
I mean, hey, like there is a lot of things that I think Scorsese would be proud of this show. The filmmaking is pretty great. Like there's a lot of practical stuff. The suit is practical,
Yeah.
a lot of the time. No nanotech. I love that there's quite a few times that Riri has to literally like pick up the suit and carry it or drag it behind her.
Yeah.
And it's half on her and it's all falling off. And there's this great bit where Ezekiel pulls the spine out of the suit and it just looks like
That's so metal. That
really
that's
is.
so good.
And it's sparking and you can hear the scraping. That's amazing. And all the Ironheart title drops are integrated within the episodes.
Yes.
And all the panic attacks and the PTSD and the bit where Ezekiel is arrested. There's a lot of stuff that's very claustrophobic and tight and, framed really well. I thought the show was color graded really great. It looks fantastic.
The use of practicality. Finally, we have no nanotech, which is wonderful.
I used to
We're not
pray
gonna
for
have any-
times like these.
and you just get to see the suit in a Riri's style. Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool to see that.
I liked how in Wakanda Forever she gets the upgraded suit, not nanotech, but it is like the Wakandan suit, and they don't let her keep it, and she has to kind of go back to bare bones, and that was the right decision for this story. Can you imagine this show, but she has a vibranium Wakandan armor the whole time? It would have been so much less interesting, because so much of it is about, my suit's breaking, I need to get this part, or, I need to pull apart this car to get it all done. There's a lot of great stuff. Right, what are you going to give Ironheart out of 10?
I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10.
I'm also going to give it a 6. Thank you, everybody, for listening. If you're listening on YouTube and you liked it, you can like and subscribe if you want to see more. And if you're listening on Spotify or Apple, you can follow and give us a 5-star review if you think we're worthy. And next week, it's another summer blockbuster. I'm feeling quite excited for this one. It's Fantastic Four! That's not really... Yeah, I got the harmony wrong. You got it right, though. Well done.
Did I?
I think you did, yeah.
Oh,
well, let's see if we
okay.
can do it again. Okay, let's just... Fantastic
Big
Four! That's so out of... That's going to be so out of tune. Third time's the charm. Ready?
Okay.
Fantastic Four.
Oh, no.
It's going to be so out of...
Fantastic Four. No.
Oh, he's going again. We can't hit the high notes. That's the problem.
No. Fantastic Four. Yeah.
Fantastic Four. No. Fantastic
Four. Can this be our audition to Michael Giacchino? Can we just say that we can...
Does he have a choir?
Just be hired by Michael Giacchino. Can we just sing about anything?
The Batman Part 2.
Jurassic World Rebirth.
Oh, we're going to get copyrighted by Michael Giacchino saying that's too perfect. That's too perfect to sing that.
You guys. Yeah, excited Fantastic Four. I hope it's good.
Yeah, I hope it's good as well. And you can follow us on Instagram at Out of Time Film Pod to see our incredible thumbnails from Zain Afzal, on Twitter for more thoughts from Tom and me, and TikTok to see edited clips, which are all also on Instagram Reels and YouTube Shorts. And you can find links to that all in the description below. Thanks to Jones-Meyer for the excellent theme and Ronan Phillips for vocals as always. And I think that's everything. Take what you're given.
Give nothing back.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.